Hey guys, this is Camden's Takes, and as you know, last time we did stars, but last year we did the solar system, and we're going to go back there. But this time we're going to talk about the objects in the solar system we already did. We're going to talk about ring objects today. So a lot of these objects I've already gone over, but I'll go over a tiny bit of them again in case you forgot. But this video is mostly about the object's rings. The first ringed object is Jupiter. I will not be going over Jupiter because I already went over Jupiter in my Intro to Solar System video. So if you'd like to actually learn a little bit more about Jupiter itself, click the link in the description below. However, I will go over a few things about Jupiter. Jupiter's the fifth planet from the Sun, but it's the closest ringed object in our solar system to our Sun. It is the largest gas giant planet in our solar system, and it has 4 known rings. But there are only 4, and they're faint and hard to see. You can only see them if you're behind Jupiter while looking at the Sun. But from our view on Earth, it looks like Jupiter has none. Voyager 1 spacecraft found them in 1979 while photographing from behind Jupiter. The rings are made up of dust. It has its oval-shaped halo ring and its main ring, too. Its Amalthea and Thebe Gossamer rings are also fainter. They're made of dust particles from impacts on Jupiter's inner moons. Next is Saturn. Saturn is the second closest ringed object to the Sun, and it's the second largest planet in the solar system, next to Jupiter, which is the biggest. They're both gas giant planets with no real rocky surfaces. If you combine their masses together, 92% of the planetary mass in the solar system would be Jupiter and Saturn, because they both have so much more mass than all the rest of the 8 planets. And Saturn has the biggest set of rings of any ringed object in the solar system. There are over 500 rings, made of rock, gas, and icy chunks, left over from shattered moons, comets, and asteroids from the formation of our solar system, and Saturn's circumplanetary disk forming its moons. Since there are so many rings, we can't possibly mention or get specific names for them all. These are just the main ring groupings, which are actually A, B, C, D, E, F, G, with some other rings, ring arcs, and ring lips, and other gaps and divisions in between the rings, which have names too. Next is Rhea. Rhea is Saturn's second largest moon that can have 3 rings around it. Rhea is Saturn's second largest moon, which is the second largest after Titan. And this is the example to show that planets aren't the only objects that can have rings. Next is Uranus. Uranus is actually the 7th planet from the Sun, but in this case it's the 4th closest ringed object to the Sun. Neptune and Uranus are known as the ice giant planets in our solar system, which are extremely cold special gas giant planets, which have the gases of Saturn and Jupiter, but they're smaller, colder, and their gases are heavier. Uranus rings are made up of space debris left over from our solar system. Its rings names are Zeta 654, Alpha Beta, Eta Gamma, Delta Epsilon, Nu, and Mu. Next is Neptune. Neptune is the 8th planet from the Sun, but in this video and in all the ring objects, it's the 5th ring object from our Sun. Neptune has 6 very faint rings and several ring arcs, which are where particles in Neptune's rings cluster together. The rings are made up of dust and rocky chunks. The rings' names are Gaul, Levaria, Lassell, Argo, Adams, and the 6th ring doesn't have a name yet. The arcs in the Adams ring have names too. fraternité, il était one, il est two, liberté, and courage. Next is Chiron. Chiron is an asteroid, but it's also a really special one. It's also known as a comet because it's icy and has a coma around it. Chiron might have 2 rings, but they're actually not confirmed yet. Chiron is part of the Centaur class because it resides between Uranus and Saturn. Next is Chariklo. Chariklo is another asteroid that has 2 rings, and these rings are actually confirmed, so that makes it the first asteroid discovered with rings. It's also known as a dwarf planet candidate because its shape is nearly round. While the rings don't have official names yet, they are nicknamed Oyapak and Chewie. It's not Chewie like the Star Wars character. Oyapak and Chewie are named after the 2 rivers that form the northern and southern borders of Brazil. Along with Chiron, it's a Centaur asteroid because it lays between Saturn and Uranus. Next is Haumea. Haumea is the 3rd dwarf planet from the Sun, and it's oval in shape due to its fast rotation. Haumea has 1 ring, and it's actually the first object in the Kuiper Belt discovered with a ring. The ring was probably formed from the giant red spot it has, which is probably left over from the collision which created the moons and ring. And finally is Quaoar. Quaoar is the 2nd Kuiper Belt object after Haumea, and they actually have the same orbital period times. No one would have noticed Quaoar's rings at all if it hadn't been for stellar occultations. They're kind of like eclipses. When it passed between Earth and a distant star, the astronomers watching down here on Earth could see the outline of Quaoar and its 2 rings and moon because their shapes block the light of the distant star. Quaoar's rings are Q2R and Q1R. What makes these rings strange is because they're outside the Rotche limit, because that's where Quaoar's gravitational pull should end. But beside that, now Quaoar is part of the 9-ringed solar system objects, along with Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Rhea, Chariklo, Chiron, and Haumea. Hope you enjoyed this episode of Camden's Takes. Goodbye.